Episode 3 is brought to you by the following Big Dog Tier members: Amanda Stallman, Kayla Richardson, Jeanette Green, and a significant donation by Holly Cluxton. Are you looking to be more involved in the Dog Pound community? If so, please visit patreon.com/dogwithabone. For just $1 a month, you can help support Dog with a Bone's mission. Please visit our page to learn about the multiple tiers that will give you access to behind-the-scenes content, outtakes, documents, photos, videos, and live monthly events with me. I thank you for your continued support and consideration. Warning: this episode contains adult content and listener discretion is advised. All views and opinions expressed by Dog with a Bone guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host or the contributors. Everyone, and welcome back to Dog with a Bone. If you have not already, please join our Dog with a Bone discussion Facebook page where you can meet other listeners and discuss the episodes as we move through the season. There will be a ton to talk about. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Dog with a Bone on Spotify or wherever you listen so you get notified when episodes are released. In the last episode, you heard from David, Aaron, Ben, and Scott. All four recounted the events of the fire and their extreme efforts they went to try and rescue Mackenzie after finding out 10 to 15 minutes later that she was still in the home. When Aaron said, quote, "They risked a lot to save a lot," end quote, I couldn't agree more. My hope was by the time I made my first trip to Jeffersonville, I would have heard from Marianne or Kenny. The word had gotten out and they were aware of what I was doing. But no such luck. It was at this point that I made the decision to locate them and talk face to face. I did not want to blindside them, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to respond or reach out regarding the murder of your daughter, an attempted murder on you, I will show up in person. Mary and I drove to a town called Tip City, which is about an hour from Jeffersonville. We had heard that Marianne and Kenny were living there for the past few years. The thing about investigations is you spend a lot of time running around chasing people down. When we pulled up to the address provided and asked around, we called Donald to make sure we were at the right house. Did you see the photos that we sent?
Yeah, that's not the house was blue. That looks like the house, but it was blue, and it looks like they're putting siding on it.
They said that they haven't lived there, or that whoever lives there now says it's been a few months.
There was that guy outside. Did you recognize that guy at all?
That's Mary.
I've never seen that guy.
Okay. He said that his friends live there. And we were like, oh, is he home or are they home? And he said no.
But I asked if they were Kenny or Marianne were their names, and he said no. When was the last time that Harrison knew that they lived here?
About a year ago.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right.
Let me ask you a question. Was there a house behind that house?
Yes.
It was a storage kind of, it would look, I knocked on it and it was like more like a shed, like a storage. There wasn't anything like to it.
That property goes with the house, and there's a big gigantic barn in the back of the property, but there was a little house behind that house that the daughter Jennifer lived in.
I went and knocked on that door, and then there was a bunch of semis, like a trucking back there.
then that's him. That's got to be him because that's what he does. He's still driving for the semis. Does any of the semis say Mossberger on them?
No, I looked at some. There was a bunch of different names.
Because that's the only address we've known, and they were there for, like I said, they moved in a year and a half after the fire, and they've been there ever since, like I said, up until a year ago.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep you updated. We're going to head into town and see if we can't get to just a local bar and see if we can't ask around and find maybe a better address for. And then we'll head back and head to Jeffersonville. We had no luck at the local bar, so we left Tip City empty-handed. Mary and I both felt frustration and sadness of not being able to locate them. You strike out more times than not when trying to track people down who don't want to be found. But thankfully, Donald called us and gave us some good news.
All right, what did you find?
You got your tape recorder on?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, Mary Ann moved out in April and left Kitty. She went to Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
She was living either with William or in that area. And that is out of Kay's mouth. Harrison right now is trying to get Amanda Kay. That's the one that said all the stuff and signed the affidavit.
Yes.
He's trying to get her phone number and see if she'll talk to you.
Amanda Kay is Mary Ann's sister. Jeremy is another sibling of Mary Ann's. Just to break down the Potter family here that you'll hear more about in later episodes, Mary Ann has a lot of siblings. There's Jeremy, Jamie, and William are Mary Ann's brothers. Mary Ann's sisters are Amanda Kay, Amy, and Martha.
Jeremy told Harrison, and I read the message from Jeremy, and he said, I am not going to talk to nobody. I don't know nothing about what I can answer or anything. I'm not going to talk to anybody. When I went down to the fire, they already loaded your sister up in the ambulance and was taking her. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done with this conversation.
Wow. And that's a very interesting response, because why wouldn't you want to talk? Because there's a lot of things that happened after the fire.
He's close to Jamie and William. He's close to his brothers. So
right.
That's right. But right now, we do have Amy that's willing to talk to you. He is the one that talked to Detective Brown the day of the fire, and she's the one that'll tell you that Detective Brown come and got them because something that Marianne and Kenny said to him didn't add up to what, and then Amy told what she knew. She was there at the time with Marianne. Then Kay is the one that told Harrison that Marianne did move to Kentucky, and she is either living with William or living near William, but has no contact with the mom. The mom does not want Marianne in her life anymore.
Unfortunately, again, Kay changed her mind and no longer wanted to speak with me. But that's okay. I have her signed affidavit, and we'll talk about that later.
Do we know why?
Well, nobody knows why.
Interesting.
And this is the grandparents that they would all go to when they went to the bar?
Yeah. This is where Harrison and Douglas and Mackenzie would stay. Yeah, okay. It's the grandma.
Okay.
See, after the fire, they all moved to Kentucky.
Yep.
Okay.
They all got out of town. They left. Jeremy was the only one, and Amy was the only one that stayed in Jeffersonville. The rest of them took off. They left.
Before Mary and I left Jeffersonville, we had one more address to try for Kenny. It was our last-ditch effort to try to reach him before heading home. I drove up to the house and parked on the street. I got out of the car and headed up to the White House, and as I was walking, I could feel myself getting anxious and hopeful that finally we would locate at least one of them. I knocked on the door and waited for what felt like forever. I checked around the patio and found that mail had been piling up. A porch light was on from the night before. I knocked again and waited. No answer. I turned back to Mary, who was in the car, to see if she noticed anyone looking through the windows or blinds. She shook her head no. I turned around and walked back to the car, once again feeling defeated. But before we drove away, we tried one more phone number for Kenny.
The dial is not in service. Please check the number and dial again. Or dial 611.
Strike three. Wah, wah.
That's perfect. We fucked up.
We both want one. All right. The number that we had for Kenny is a dead end too, so that's strike three.
During investigations, you have to laugh and have some funny moments because it's very heavy. And we had striked out 3 times here, and that's what we were laughing about is we were not catching a break. The attempts to reach Mary and Kenny were not successful. So I want to share now email messages between Mary Ann and Donald that Donald had printed off many years ago. Mary is reading Mary Ann's part. I just want to give a quick heads up, though. There will be times that the conversation doesn't make any sense. And that's because they were going back and forth pretty quickly. One would respond to an email message that was maybe 2 email messages ago, and then ask another question. I did my best to put this puzzle piece together to make it easier to follow.
What time did the fire start? Because you said you went up to her room to kiss her goodnight, but she was already asleep.
Jamie came over to pick up pizzas he ordered from her. She came downstairs, got the pizzas out of the fridge in the garage, got her glass of tea, and went back to her room. She was headed to bed, gave me a kiss, and I told her I would be up later. She told Jamie she was going to her dad's for a visit that weekend because we were talking about the yard sale and she was going to cancel her visit with you so she could be there to get her money for her stuff.
I just want to point out that Mary Ann puts her brother Jamie in the house just a few hours before the fire, and he has an interaction with Mackenzie.
Are you sure you talked to her during the fire?
We were there at 11 or so. I don't know what happened in the few hours after we went to bed. Now you're just asking stupid questions. If I knew exactly what happened, I wouldn't be looking for answers also. I did around 11:30. I usually tucked her in every night, but I was doing taxes for the business, so she went to bed and I went up, checked the rabbit's cage, made sure it was locked, kissed her, pulled the blankets up, and turned off her TV.
You left her in the house. That's why I was concerned. You never explained that to me. You said you talked to her, then left her there. Why?
I never left her. The only way to get to her was through the window. The steps were completely engulfed in flames, as I have stated 100 times. I went out the back door through the garage. Kenny broke out the bedroom window.
Why didn't Kenny go out the back door with Mary Ann? What was the purpose of Kenny breaking out a window when he could have just walked out the door?
He got the ladder out of the shed. I ran to John Mulford's house, and he would not answer his door, so I ran to Jamie and Chad. Chad came with me, where Kenny was trying to bust out the bedroom window from a ladder. Chad witnessed this as well as Tony, who came straight from the firehouse and was first on scene. He is the one who removed Kenny from the premises. As for me not going to the ambulance, I was detained inside Teresa's house and did not even know they brought her out until Vernon came to me, and she was already headed to the hospital.
Detained? That's an interesting choice of words since she wasn't in handcuffs from everyone that I've spoken to.
Kenny never lied about trying to get in the house, and Tony Trimble knows that. He was the first on scene. He never said he went into Mackenzie's room. He did try and get to her room, and that is what he said. I did defend you from day one because I know you would not hurt any of your kids. And you know I wouldn't either, but you have lied saying that I would. You also know I would not let anyone hurt my kids, and you have lied about that.
Why are there so many stories coming from you about what happened that night? Do you think it is fair to me that I lost my daughter to a murderer? Think about it. If the shoes was on the other feet.
I also lost my daughter, so you think I deserve that? I have never changed my story.
Bull. You told me that you went out the back door. Then you told me you went out the garage door. Then Kenny said you and him went out the window with him. Then you said it was kerosene. And then you said it was diesel fuel. Why do you call it an accident, but everyone else calls it a homicide? I just wish that you would tell the whole truth so we could come together and find out what really happened to our daughter and who is lying.
The death certificate says homicide due to arson. They ruled it homicide because the law said it was an arson, and only because of that. My heart tells me differently, and I am entitled to my own opinion, which is what I have said. I believe it was an accident. There is no other autopsy, and you know that. Since you cannot answer any questions, I'm assuming this conversation is over. He also has the scars where he was cut by the window, busting it out to get in. But you don't know everything. Just what you want to believe.
Then why did he go to the hospital?
Funny how, again, you want to throw things off of you and not answer any questions, but want my answers.
Really? I answered your questions. Other people who tried to get to her, he stopped them from getting to her.
He was never up the street. Again, lies.
You said he was in his underwear, but not seen by anybody that he was in his underwear. Who's lying, Marianne?
He was in his boxers. His mom and dad brought him and me clothes when we called them.
What were you wearing, underwear too?
No, I had shorts and a t-shirt on. His mom brought me sweatpants and Jamie gave me a pair of flip-flops.
If they brought you clothes, then why didn't anyone see him in his boxers?
No, he was removed from the scene by the fire department and the sheriff, as was I, which is why I was detained in Teresa's house and did not know they brought her out to the ambulance.
Kenny was never removed from the scene by the fire department or the sheriff's office. Again, David nor Vernon, the sheriff at the time, said that he was removed from the scene.
Really? Why didn't you call me right away after they got her out?
You were the first person I called, and I called as soon as I hung up with 911.
I would actually love to know how Marianne called 911. She had a phone in the truck, remember, that was in the way, and she didn't use that. She instead decided to walk from house to house at 2 a.m., banging on the doors, waiting for a neighbor to wake up for them to call 911. So, what phone did she use? We know she didn't run to the fire station that was a block and a half away to use that phone that automatically calls 911. If Marianne ran to the fire department and used that phone, she would have been there in 35 seconds or less. The conversation changes between Marianne and Donald, and it moves on to a topic that there's a lot of questions surrounding why Mackenzie did not try to escape from the fire. One theory is that Mackenzie was drugged.
Why did you tell everyone that she was drugged with cough syrup? Why did you tell everyone that this was a cover-up because she was dead before the fire started?
Because you said she had a headache and you gave her medicine, but did not see any of that on the autopsy report.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never looked at the autopsy report with you and never said she had a headache. Why would you tell people that she was molested? Why would you tell people that she was drugged and dead before the fire and it was a cover-up? Why would you tell people that I colluded with $30,000 and left town and blew all of it? You know the facts? That child was never molested, never drugged, and passed from smoke inhalation with nothing in her system. Fact in autopsy. I collected $3,500 in a bank account, which went to her expense, and then another $2,000 on top of that out of pocket. As for Kay, I don't care what she says. We don't talk so she can make up any lies she wants to. She spent the night rearranging her bedroom and picking out stuff for the yard sale we were going to have that weekend. She wouldn't have done that if she had a headache.
Why didn't you contact me the day you all went to the house after the fire to see if I wanted to go in it?
I never went to the house. I was mad I was not there. I want many more trinkets that I got. Kenny was allowed to clean out the garage with a deputy there. The next thing we know, Gillespie was tearing it down and William drove by and saw it and stopped to get some of the things from her room. I am a liar? There were no last words. Remember, that's what you said. What I said was that the department that you trust doesn't know what they are doing. Just last month, they ruled a house fire to be electrical. And then 2 weeks later, they arrested a guy who admitted to setting that house on fire. So Fayette County ruled it electrical, and it was actually an arson. They have no clue what they're doing. Don't you read your newspaper? You get things in your head and you run away with it. I will not sit and be bashed by you. I will not be belittled, nor will I sit and listen to your lies.
As you can imagine, Marianne and Donald have had several conversations over the years about that night. One of these times, Marianne calls Donald when he's at work, and so he begins asking her questions. He repeats questions to see if she changes her story. However, this time, he records it, so you can now hear Marianne's own words.
All I want is the truth. I earned that part. That you two were fully dressed. You were kidding. When you come out of the fire, out of the house.
I had my flannel pajamas and all these shirts you had on these boxes.
This part of the conversation is a little hard to hear, but what Donald asked Marianne was, were the both of you fully dressed when you escaped from the fire? Marianne's response was, he was in a t-shirt and I had my pajamas on. So Marianne is saying that Kenny now has on a shirt besides boxers. Got it.
Everybody's cleared, just like you were with the lie detector test and all of that. Everybody was cleared. That's why they are at a standstill and have nowhere to go, because it was not an arson, because they don't know what they're doing, and because everybody that could have possibly done anything passed lie detector test, and everybody is cleared. So now they have no suspects whatsoever. They don't know what to do with the case.
William is Marianne's brother who lived at their mom's house, remember, which is about, again, a block over. He was in high school at this time. I do want to clarify, though, Marianne is completely inaccurate on her statement based on the fire marshal's report. The only person, and I'll say this to all those in the back of the room, the only person to have been cleared in the homicide of Mackenzie Brenham is Donald. Everyone hear that in the back of the room? Marianne, Kenny, and William have not been cleared.
Okay, well, if everybody's cleared, then why in the world then? And you said a few nights ago about a dog being in the house, that there was no possible way anybody could get a house. How in the world then did that fire start inside the house with splash patterns?
I told you, I've done explained all of that to you, and I'm not going to sit and go through it and argue with you over and over and over again. It's done been explained to you, Rick. I don't know what else you want me to do. I mean, there's absolutely no winning with you whatsoever.
See, that's where you're understanding me, because like I said, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're trying to tell me that sheriff department down there don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they're going to sit there. These are professional people that know everything about an arson, and you've already told me how this fire supposedly started with the scene heaters, and you're going to tell me that they're stupid and everything else, but then I still got them, professional people, telling me, no, Mr. Branham, it is an arson. It is a homicide.
Professional people that have no clue whatsoever to go on. None whatsoever. Professional people that thought it was arson and thought it was started with kerosene or whatever, and did not once check the fuel in Kenny's truck to see if it matched the pattern, right? Because he had a diesel truck sitting right there by the house. You know, if they thought he done it and all of that and was his way, why wouldn't they have taken the diesel out of his truck and tested it? Because it had nothing to do with diesel. It was 100% kerosene that was used, because that was the only splash pattern they found was kerosene from the kerosene heaters that I burned over and over and over again.
Why are they still considering this an arson then?
You know, what if I had the answer to that question? I'd have the answer to all of them, wouldn't I, Rick? I just told you, these standing in your garage the other day, what's ever going to be solved is if you could got the money to pay for a high-dollar private investigator who's going to come in and look at all the evidence. Because all they did is did a real quick look at evidence. They looked at the fact that there was kerosene splashes on the floor or whatever, and that was it. It was automatic arson. They can't tell me what happened to the heater. I lived in the fucking house. I know the fucking heater was there. So if they can't explain that, They can't even find it. They said there was no smoke detectors. There was 2 smoke detectors in that house. That had not been working. That was my mistake. But there was smoke detectors in that house. So how do they not have signs of these things if they're professionals?
Somebody said there was kerosene upstairs.
There was a kerosene heater right outside Mackenzie's door. I told you that. One right at the end of the steps there in the hallway, 2 in the living room, and one right up the steps right outside her door. I said that 100 times.
Why would you have a kerosene heater outside of Mackenzie's door, knowing that on top of it already puts out carbon monoxide?
It was in the hallway, and she slept with her door shut because there had to be heat upstairs, period.
Pause. Remember when Aaron said that he had to close Mackenzie's door because it was open? There was a reason I had specifically asked him that a few times, because I knew that Mackenzie always slept with her door closed. Why? Because she had a bunny and she was afraid that the dog would attack the bunny. So how is it the night of the fire, her door just happens to be open?
I mean, I wasn't going to put a child upstairs with absolutely no heat. Now, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
But I thought you said you had baseboard heaters in all the rooms.
I did. After she came to live with us, I did. We quit using kerosene heaters, but baseboard heaters in her room. There was one in our bedroom. There was one in the kitchen down there, and then we had the big place thing in the living room and the little tower heater in the hallway living room area. Yes, after she came home. But before, and I did tell you that I had been running the kerosene about 1.5 months, 2 months before all of this happened. Did I not tell you that?
Yeah, you did say that, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, and you said they were also empty, so how could there be kerosene spilled anywhere if they were empty?
Well, you know, when you carry a kerosene can from one heater to the next, and you pour it in one, and then it drips down the side and all of that, and you do that every single day, you know, the little pattern that you carry that can from one heater to the next heater to the next heater drips all that kerosene in your carpet. That don't come up unless you take a cooler, and I don't even know if it would come up to your cooler. I'm not a professional, I don't know. But that stays in your carpet when it gets in there.
Was there carpet on the stairs?
No, there was not carpet on the stairs.
Does anyone know what Marianne's point here is? Because I'm confused. If you're spilling kerosene on the floor, don't you clean it up? But then she mentions about the carpet and shampooing the carpet and will it come out of the carpet? And then Donald asked her, well, did you have carpet? And she said no.
Because from what I was told, there was no stairs after the fire. It burned the whole entire stairs. You even said that.
Yeah, which is where the one big heater that sits. That's what I told you. That's exactly why I went back to that, and I'm not going to argue one way or another because I'm not a professional. I know in my heart exactly how it is, and if they would have taken time to look at it themselves, they would have known that too. But they didn't. They come in, they had the dog in, he smelled accelerant, and that's exactly what they went with, 100%. I told them I burned kerosene. I said I hadn't burned it for 1.5 months, and that was it. They dismissed it. They didn't even ask where the kerosene heater sits. They did not even care. They would have sat and got all of the evidence and sit and went through everything. This would have never went this far, and it would have been solved. Because I guarantee, I know you, like I said, you've seen more of it than I have, but I guarantee if you look at the pattern they've got laid out there, where whatever they've got drawn out is exactly the pattern where my kerosene bar. And like I said, I'll sit and you can have them draw you a map and draw you the splash, whatever, their splash pattern, and come to me with just a map of the house, and I will show you the characters, and then you can tell me if it matches up, because I'll lay my hand to God it probably does.
All right, but then what? I don't understand what would have caused fire then to set the kerosene on fire.
I told you, the tower heater that they seem to say doesn't exist, that I know for a fact was there. Just turned it on right before I went to bed. I will almost lay money the dog knocked it over. And it had a kill switch, but that obviously didn't work if it was hot. And it felt on a carpet that had kerosene on it. I mean, I don't know all the answers. I'm telling you, that tower heater was there. That heater is completely 100% gone, and according to the Fayette County Sheriff's Department, it never existed.
How did this dog get out of the fire? I'm curious. Did they take the dog out the window with Marianne? From everyone that I've talked to, the dog was not injured, nor did the dog look to be in distress. But another question I have is, if the dog was there in the house, wouldn't the dog be barking with the fire and wake Mackenzie up?
Well, what time did you guys go to bed?
I don't know, Rick. I think 11:30 when I went up and tucked her in, made sure everything was okay, and checked the rabbit cage. I don't know. That was a year and a half ago, and I know all of the things that happened during that will not ever go away. But the little things, like one time we went to bed, we finished watching that stupid Mythbusters or whatever, went up, tucked her in, and everything, turned all the lights off, did all of that, and went to bed.
All right, now, if you went upstairs and tucked her in, then you would have noticed that her bed was on the other side of the window, right?
Yes, I did say that, but I also said he was the one that went up the ladder, not me. Do you remember that whole conversation? I was beating on the neighbor's door to get somebody to get up and call 911.
To believe Marianne here, Kenny would have had to known what window Mackenzie's bed was under, right? And as a volunteer firefighter, why didn't he try to save her?
I told you that same in the garage the other day. I went through everything in my head. If I would have just took 5 seconds and thought things out, everything's been different. But in the heat of the moment and running around like that, you don't have time to stop and think. I didn't think about the bed being moved because I was too busy trying to get up and get someone to call 911.
Well, when you went out the garage, where'd you go? Behind the house to John's house?
No, my garage comes out the front. I went out the front door and down the alleyway to John's house, yes, and he was there trying to get her.
When you ran, you said you ran out of your bedroom, through the kitchen, into whatever you called it, some room, and out the garage. You ran out the front of the garage or the back of the garage?
Front of the garage. Back of the garage, all it had was a doggy door.
Because I asked him, because he said y'all's bedrooms actually was a dining room. And he said that, well, Mom and Kenny's got a bedroom door right there in these houses.
Yes, I know that. I didn't make any of it up, but here we go again with you grilling and putting the kids into things that the kids really shouldn't be in the middle of.
I was asking the boys what side of your house looked like because I've never been in there. They said there was a bedroom upstairs, Mackenzie a bedroom, and there was a bathroom. And then you come down the stairs and they said there was the front room, and then Mom and Kenny actually sleeps in what they consider a dining room. It turned into their bedroom. And then they said, then there's a kitchen. Well, you know how close me and Mackenzie were. Why didn't she ever tell me about what she talked about the calling from God and where she made her a grave right there beside your house?
I don't know why she didn't. We just out there in the yard that day, and like I said, I just blew it off too. She probably felt silly about it. I just blew it off. When she's out there doing it, she's just a kid being silly, and I bet you she probably had 500 rocks in my yard that day from that railroad track, spelling her name out in it. And she said, I didn't say that she said it, but I said that was my impression of it. She, in my heart, she had made peace, or she knew what was expected of her. But she made that, laid all that out.
Made peace with what? And Mackenzie knew what was expected of her. This statement really bothers me because I don't know how you could say an 8-year-old knew what was expected of her and made peace with it with dying? Just think about what Marianne just said.
But you got to understand, Mackenzie being 8 years old, I don't think she was ready to go see God that soon.
I didn't say she was ready. I said she was at peace. She knew. I'm not saying that she was. I'm saying 100% without a doubt. When it came time, she did not suffer. She knew where she was going, and she knew that she was going to a better place. And you're not going to take that away. I'm not going to ever sit and dwell on the fact that, I'm sure she was scared, but without a doubt, he was there with her, and she knew that she was going to a better place.
Whoa, hold up. Marianne is claiming that Mackenzie knew. Again, she knew she was going to die 100% without a doubt when it came time she didn't suffer. She knew where she was going and she was going to a better place. Are you kidding me right now? How does she know Mackenzie didn't suffer? Unless she made sure she was knocked out. Who doesn't suffer from a fire? I've seen those autopsy photos, and Mackenzie's skin is burnt from the heat because, again, the door was left open. To me, this whole thing is key. There's no way a mother says, in a fire, I knew 100% without a doubt my child did not suffer. And what 8-year-old goes to bed and says, well, I know I'm going to die tonight in a fire, and I'm okay with it.
So you think she died peacefully?
I know she did. I know how she was, and I know without a doubt that she, like I said, she was the one that was always, if nobody would go to church with her because I wouldn't let her go by herself and I couldn't go because of the boys. Boys wouldn't go, wouldn't sit still when they did go. If Jennifer wouldn't get up and go with her, she was mad, and everybody's day. Everybody suffered on Sundays if Mackenzie didn't get to go to church. I know without a doubt she understood the things that Betty did church, and she knew without a doubt that when it was her time, she was going to a better, and I know without a doubt that he was standing there with her, and she did not suffer. He did not let her suffer. Nobody's going to take that away from me. Took her away, and there's no answer. There's nothing. Nobody can ever tell me why. But without a doubt, he did not let her suffer through it. No. And on that note, I'm done because I'm not going to get all upset.
Explain this to me. How in the world can somebody wake up in the middle of the night, run out of a bedroom, bust through a window, run out of a bedroom in underwear, but have keys to every vehicle and glasses, prescription glasses, and a cell phone?
Okay, now let's get some facts straight, dumbass. I had to go to Dr. Gray's office and give his prescription glasses a week later because he didn't have his motherfucking glasses. And as far as my cell phone, it was left in the truck the night before. If you remember correctly, I told you I didn't have my phone. I found it when we recovered the truck. Anything else?
When you got the funeral of Mackenzie, he had contact lenses in his eyes.
He had his nephew's contact lenses in, but did not. He probably didn't even have them in the whole session if you paid attention because they irritated his eyes and they went on to write prescription.
Well, I thought he got his prescription glasses out of the semi because that's where he left them at.
No, he had an old pair of glasses that probably were like a year and a half old. It was not the right prescription. Like I said, I don't have to sit here and look at one another. You can call Dr. Gray's office and verify it. He did not have his prescription glasses. They had to be replaced. His hearing aids had to be replaced. He had, you can sit there and make all the excuses you want and try to attack him, which is what you're trying to do. You're trying to build a case against him and you're trying to attack him. And you're doing it all out of spite, 100%. He done everything he could that night. He done more than I was able to do that night. And I'm sorry, I can't. Nothing I can do to change that. That's the fact of the matter. He deals with this every day of his life. He probably deals with it more than you do.
Oh, I'm sure he does, but for different reasons.
Yeah, that's really nice to say. But why would he have to replace hearing aids?
They were in the house also because he has 2 hearing aids, one in each ear. He always has.
Okay, well, most people sleep with hearing aids in their ears.
No, nobody sleeps with hearing aids in their ears, so that they take them out because they squeal when you lay down.
So what, you're telling me he's deaf without hearing aids?
100%. I've got a call. I'll talk to you later.
I find it really interesting. This is where she ends the call. So if they were sleeping at the time of the fire, which is what Kenny and Marianne have both said, he would not have had time to find his hearing aids when trying to escape a fire, right? So there's a fire. You are trying to run for your life based on everything the firemen said. This was a hot fire. It burned quick. It burned fast. You're breaking out a window. You are not going to worry about your hearing aids. Those are replaceable. Not to mention you have an 8-year-old upstairs that you need to worry about. But somehow, the dog survives. And the other thing I want to mention here is that he shouldn't have had his hearing aids in. So when he was out there that night, wouldn't the neighbors recall him being hard of hearing? Nobody mentions this who were there. Listen, I just want to pause here because I know this episode has been jam-packed. And for those who are taking notes, I know many of you do, I would suggest going back and listening a few more times. There is so much to unpack that it will take time. The goal here is to continue to dig out this massive hole, right? That is Mackenzie's case. So we just dug at the first layer, which is starting with the professionals that were there that night. All 4 professionals stayed on record that Kenny never tried to rescue Mackenzie. All 4 knew something was not right at the scene. So to believe Marianne, you would have to say that all 4 of these guys independently have the same accounts of the fire that night, and they're all lying. Think about that. The next layer of dirt we need to dig out is what the neighbors saw. What do they remember? And unfortunately for Marianne and Kenny, they're talking and they're ready to fight for justice. Next time on Dog with a Bone.
So when we went over there, Kenny was standing in front of the house, but more like on the edge, and he was talking to like neighbors, just very nonchalantly, like no big deal.
Did they seem like they were out of breath, that they just escaped a fire? They were smelly like fire, hot? Did they look or appear like they just escaped this fire to you?
No, not at all.
Dog with a Bone is hosted by Melissa Sandberg, investigated, produced, and written by Melissa Sandberg. Additional writing by Caitlin Sandberg. Edited by Jason Sandberg. Theme music by Alex Yukich. Dog with a Bone is a Sasquatch production.